Far out in the uncharted backwaters of the unfashionable end of the western spiral arm of the galaxy lies a small, unregarded yellow sun. Orbiting this at a distance of roughly 92 million miles is an utterly insignificant little blue-green planet whose ape-descended life forms are so amazingly primitive that two of them still think doing a podcast called Digital Watches are a pretty neat idea is a pretty neat idea. These podcasters have, or rather had, a problem, which was this. Actually, this is the solution. So, Jeff, what is this?
Well, Bryan, this is the second half of our discussion of boats, trains, and automobiles, better known as Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency.
Right, and also known as, and now for something completely different again.
Again, yes. More of something completely different.
More of, yes. Oh, man, this was exciting. You want to know why it was so exciting?
Why was it exciting?
I was shocked because when I watched this 6th episode of this 2nd season, it wasn't 5 minutes into it before I realized I'd never seen it before.
Really?
So now I was like, oh, no wonder I was having trouble following what you were saying last week.
Okay. That makes sense now.
Because I haven't actually seen episodes 6 through 10, and it boggles my mind. I don't know why I would have stopped at 5.
Well, you had to walk away for a minute and forgot you walked away.
Yeah, well, I think for some reason, and I still don't quite know how I would have seen it, I believe I was watching this contemporarily, and maybe I just missed the end of the season or something, you know, when it was being originally broadcast.
Okay.
I think that's when I was actually watching it.
Wow.
So I'm suspecting that that's what happened.
So this was like a first time through for you. How exciting.
Oh, absolutely. That was exciting.
Well, before we get too far into this, I want to make sure that I'm understanding something.
Okay.
So 50 years ago, the abandoned house was fenced in by Blackwing.
Yes.
And they installed video surveillance.
Mm-hmm.
And the house was cleared out, except, of course, for the one phone that we mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what I'm saying is that there were many people working on and around that property starting 50 years ago.
Right.
We are to believe that nobody noticed a car up in a tree?
Well, yeah, I suppose. But if you go all the way through the story, we're obviously going to find out the source of that car and how it ended up in the tree.
50 years ago.
Right, 50 years ago. But remember from that episode where Farah and Todd were out in the field, they were way the heck out in a field. I mean, they weren't anywhere near the house.
So yeah, the tree was not in the perimeter of the fence.
Absolutely. I don't believe it would have been. We don't get any indication really in the story about how far away the car went, but we do see it flying through the sky at one point.
Yes. Well, I'm always surprised when a car gets pulled out of a pond that was lost 25 years ago here in the Chicago area.
Oh, gosh.
Like, how did nobody see a car for 25 years in this thing, but a car in a tree? It was in the middle of nowhere.
It did appear to be in the middle of nowhere, and it was after hours, what did they say, 4 hours of Todd chasing a rabbit?
That's right.
So let's see, the average human in about 4 hours could probably travel about 8 miles, I would think.
Right.
But I'm not sure about the average, Eastern swallow or...
Yeah, that's right. Trying to force in another Monty Python reference.
No, not forcing it in.
All right, so there are a few other clarifications about things that we said or didn't say in the previous episode.
Great.
First, how much time has passed since they were captured at the end of season 1?
Right.
We never said that. But
No.
at the beginning of episode 1, at Blackwing, while they are about to test Dirk, a computer voice says day 63. So we're going to guess 2 months.
Okay.
They did say that was his 197th test. So they're testing him multiple times per day, every single day.
Yep.
And second, at the end of season 1, Bart and Ken were in a taxi.
Oh, good. So you went back and actually watched it.
Yeah. Oh, I just wanted to see that last clip. And they were disguised as bellmen.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that makes sense, because that's where we find Ken in this season, in the car, as dressed as a bellman.
Right. We have no idea where Bart's new clothes came from. They don't ever talk about that.
No. The pink frilly dress? Who knows?
Yeah. And most importantly, and to be fair to us, they do not make it obvious in any way, and you actually have to remember to and specifically look for it in the second or two that it is on screen. But the quarry where Susie works is the Kellum Mining Corporation.
Right. Yep.
So we talk about the Kellum Knights and we talk about all of that, but it's never been tied to the quarry where they were getting the weapons and all of that. So for those who are following along, just wanting to make sure that you've got some references.
Yep.
All right, so we'll jump into episode 6 called Girl Power. And I guess this is titled Girl Power because that is what was on Susie's sweatshirt.
Right.
So the show starts in a flashback 50 years ago. And there is a couple in a pickup truck, and they hear a ship's horn, and they see lights in the sky. They go to the field where the lights landed, and they see the boat, and they hear a baby crying.
Right.
There is still not an explanation for the name, the infant male Pollock Francis.
You're right. There is no reason or reference to why it's named the infant male Pollock Francis. But we can assume that the crying baby's name might be Pollock Francis.
That's true. That's true. So after the credits, we are at the post-rave in the building where Susie is sitting on the floor in a mess. Her peace spell has caused her son Scott to see the errors of his ways, and he comes up to her and tells her that he loves her. And she zaps him with the wand and turns him into a frog.
Now, isn't that just like a loving mother?
Yes. At Blackwing, Friedkin is having a meltdown because he has been told that the Rowdy Three have disappeared. He blames a lieutenant who he thinks is his assistant, but finds out that the lieutenant's name is Assistant with an E.
Oh my gosh.
So he decides that he needs Ken's help, and he puts him and Rapunzel in one of the subject rooms. And Ken is excited to see a bed and a shower.
Right.
63 days, sitting in a cab with a dog.
Right.
Just imagine.
Yeah, really.
The next thing we see is Todd and Farrah and Tina waking up in the police station. And it's actually crowded with people who've come there after the rave. Tina kicks them all out, and Dirk wakes up in Bart's cell with Bart. And he's afraid of her.
Right.
And he's trying to escape, but he's locked in. And Bart's upset that Dirk is still afraid of her. So she just kind of like hip checks the cell door and it swings open. And she lets him go, showing that she's not a threat. She's not there to hurt or kill Dirk anymore.
Right.
Emphasis on anymore.
Right, exactly. But I love the scene here because at one point Bart turns to Dirk and says, "I've got a feeling this all ends badly."
Yes. So we jump to the abandoned house where Susie is apologizing to the mage for dropping the wand and not killing Dirk gently. The mage realizes the significance of the child's drawing on the wall. He knows nobody could know these stories because he never left any survivors who could tell them. And, portrayed on the wall, he always loses. So he deduces that they must have been drawn by the boy of the prophecy, and he's ready to give up. But Susie isn't, because she was promised that she was going to be a queen.
She's had a taste of power, and now she wants it all.
Yes. So back at the police station, Todd, Farrah, Tina, Dirk, and Panto are trying to figure everything out and how Susie is involved. When the prophecy was mentioned, Dirk realized that Susie must be the apprentice and that the mage, to try and stop the prophecy, would be trying to kill him. So they decided to call Susie with Scott's phone. And she knows that they are lying to her, and she basically tells them that she will cover herself in their blood. And Tina freaks out because she checked the station voicemail, and there were many messages about the hotel being shot up. Also, because her phone was on silent, she did not get Sheriff Hobbs's message about going to the Cardenas house. And he sounded nervous.
Right. I just love this scene. Again, we have to applaud the actress here. The one playing Tina did an awesome job.
Oh, certainly.
And her emotions are convincing. I mean, I really enjoyed this scene and the interaction between Farrah and Tina. It's an excellently done scene.
Yeah, and they spend a lot of time together.
Yes, they do.
So they have lots of great interactions.
Yes, they do.
Dirk thinks that the case is over because he was only asked to find the boy, not to bring him anywhere. So they're going to go to the hospital to talk to Arnold Cardenas, who Dirk believes is the boy. During this whole explanation, Dirk is basically having a nervous breakdown. The only good thing to come of it was that he invented his new catchphrase. Did it! With a hand wave and a finger snap.
Yes, it was very humorous.
At Blackwing, Ken is going through the computer files, and all he finds are errors in procedure. Ken has used Friedkin's desperation for help to get himself a higher clearance. Ken also wants to know why there was no police response at the hotel that was shot up. He thinks they should track the Bergsburg police vehicles. He wants to speak to Mr. Priest. Mr. Priest was watching outside the police station as the group left for the hospital. So Mr. Priest got surveillance on him, and he's just an ominous guy. You don't want to be anywhere around Mr. Priest.
Nope.
We go to Wendemore, and Martin from the Rowdy Three is talking to Amanda, or as they call her, Drummer. She tells him she will get them home. Martin asks her what her hurry is. He knows she is still learning from the witch. He also told her that she is in charge, and where she goes, they go. The witch is teaching Amanda at the vision pool and teaches her about fear. Amanda tries again and has an attack. She sees a knife through her hand. She pulls the knife out. The attack ended, but the knife remained. She also had a vision of the Boxhead Kellum Knights, thousands of them, marching to Wendemore. She asks the Rowdy Three to verify that this is a real threat, and they agree unconditionally. So they are going to go find out if there is an army advancing on Wendemore.
Correct.
At the hospital, they go to Arnold's room, and he tells a story of how his parents were always fighting because of money problems. The Kellum Company wanted to buy their farm. The man refused to sell, so they bribed his wife with a new car. They had another fight, and she killed her husband with a pair of scissors. So outside the hospital, Mr. Priest is keeping watch and gets an update request from Ken. At that time, he sees Susie walking toward the hospital. And I loved that she has excessively duct taped the wand to her hand because she is not going to drop it again. Inside the hospital, Susie goes right for Dirk, killing people with shapes and colors. Farah shoots her in the head, and Susie uses the wand to remove the bullet. They pull a fire alarm to cause a distraction to escape. Arnold sacrifices himself to save the others. Mr. Priest arrives and guns down Susie, and she falls out of the window.
That's some gunning down. About 50 shots in the dead center, you know?
Yeah, pretty much. There was a giant hole that should have been in her. Well, she was gone when he looked out the window.
Mm-hmm.
And the group is on the way to the Cardenas house to get to Wendemore. So back at the police station, Panto is pleading with Bart for help to get back to Wendemore to save his family. It was very strange to see Bart looking so vulnerable and unsure what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Usually the universe is just telling her, this is where you go, and she just did it. Here, she had to make a decision which kind of out of her comfort level.
Absolutely. And she does imply that she's used to having things go the way the universe is directing her, but she's never been asked to make the universe work for someone else.
Right.
And
right.
so when Panto is asking her for help, she's like, well, I can't change the universe. If the universe doesn't want you to do that, you can't do it.
Right.
So I do like the interaction, and I get her reticence in that discussion.
Yeah, this was another incredible scene from a TV show that appears so silly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
At the Cardenas house, they see Mr. Priest arriving. Farah stays back to hold him off. He goes right through her with no problem.
It just knocks her out flat.
Yeah, he didn't even look at her and knocked her out. Todd and Dirk are having difficulty finding the portal to Wendemore. Todd is trying everything, including running into walls. The wall behind the Murphy bed was wet. Todd figured you had to be in the bed with it closed. They get in and close the bed just as Priest breaks in. The episode ends with the mage telling Susie's catatonic husband his plans to take over the world. Susie comes home covered in blood and glass and tells the mage that Dirk has been defeated and that the boy is dead. Mm-hmm. She demands to be sent to Wendemore. That brings us to episode 7. Again, the episode starts with a flashback to 50 years ago. A farmer finds cattle mutilation and is being attacked by a monster until his wife wakes up their child.
That's when we first realized that it's all about the sleeping-waking phase.
Yes.
So it's somewhere in here that I was thinking to myself, well, that kind of makes sense, and may then explain some of the origin of the baby and the boat, which I can only assume that their parents were living on the boat and the baby went to sleep, and in its dreams it flew up in the air and then landed on the ground in Montana.
Right. No idea where the parents went.
Exactly.
After the credits, we see the interior of an old, overgrown castle-type building with a pool/well in it. Dirk and Todd shoot out of the pool. Todd is excited, and Dirk is sulking, because he blames himself for all the deaths. So he quits being a detective, and he decides to just sit there and not participate. After Todd leaves to find Amanda, Dirk meets a colorful creature of gibberish.
Again, I love this creature.
And I don't.
No, you don't like it?
She just pushed a little too over the edge. I don't really understand her purpose.
You're right. It's not really clear, but when you think about the fact that the entire Wendemore culture and peoples were populated by a child who was, 7, maybe 8 years old, maybe this is his fully realized personhood. It could end up with a character full of gibberish.
He has a strange idea of what the future sexual appetite of women is going to be.
What, in that they're attracted to Dirk? Oh, yeah, I love that. I love that.
So we jump to the witch's cave, and Amanda is using the pool to have visions. She sees the warring families and death because of Farson. She has to pause her training to go help save people. The witch disagrees, but tells her if she goes back to her own world, she has to return with the tools to fix the broken universe, which only she can do. She finds Farson to take him home. Farson's mother is giving a pep talk to her subjects, bringing them to war against the Trosts. Silas wants to warn the Trosts. He knows Farson is not dead and needs to make it right. He sends a message via parakeet to Panto's sister, Litsy Bits, and she gets the message and is trying to convince her father not to go to war.
No, wait a minute. You said that with an awful straight face. And I just want to point out that he sends a message via parakeet to Lizzie Bits.
Litsy Bits.
He sends a message to Litsy Bits. And it's here that I start to reinforce what I was saying about the child's imagination. Because when you hear that, you can almost hear Elizabeth, or the way a child would say Elizabeth incorrectly.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But the other thing I thought was funny in these scenes right around here is at one point, the weird rainbow character that you were talking about a few moments ago goes over to a bush and grabs a hamburger and gives it to Dirk, who is reticent to try it, but then of course he bites into it, and she calls it the burger bush, and he's like, "This is a fantastic hamburger." And again, it's a child imagining the world. You know, how does he get around? Burgers grow on trees.
Yes. And if I was going to describe what Litsy Bits looked like, it would be a pink-haired female version of Woody from Toy Story.
You nailed it.
And she is not convinced that Panto is dead.
That's right.
So Dirk's new friend wants him to be her boyfriend.
Here's where the rainbow girl again refers to Dirk as Bivet. And she has decided that that's his name, Bivet.
Yes.
Which for some reason I think is hysterical.
So Todd is wandering the woods looking for Amanda, and he sees the prison wagon, and he walks to it, and he is snared in a net.
Mm-hmm.
The colorful, furry creatures who capture him cut him down and then are scared off. Todd reaches for the air gun and is stopped and confronted by Silas and Wygar.
Mm-hmm.
They put him in a large version of a Chinese finger trap, the braided tube toy that you can't pull your fingers out of.
Yes, I love it.
He is trying to explain, but is doing a poor job of it.
Mm-hmm.
He says he can show them where he came from back at the ruins, where Dirk is. They asked, like, Dirk Gently? And you may have asked yourself this already, but I will ask it now for you if you haven't. How come the people of Windemore know who Dirk Gently is? Well, that is answered, and it's answered very satisfactorily by the end.
Mm-hmm.
And if you figure out how they can know, you will also know who the boy is and why everything just started happening now.
Mm-hmm.
Amanda is bringing Farson back to his family, and they are captured by Litsy Bits and her gang trespassing through the Trost Woods. They take them to meet Farson's brother Silas. The mage's main man is lurking and overhears them. At the same time, Silas is taking Todd to meet Panto's sister, Litsy Bits. Dirk's new friend is giving him a new hairdo. That was a weird scene. And Dirk continues to lament at his situation. He tells his new girlfriend he never got ahead of this case and has always been 3 steps behind. He is confused because it never mattered where he went, he would find a clue. He wonders what he missed. He is also disappointed he never got to see the boat in the field. At that, his new girlfriend shows him a drawing on the wall of a boat and a purple people eater. There is another mural. This time it's in Wendemore, and it depicts what happened in Bergsburg.
Mm-hmm.
Dirk also sees that there were 2 Cardenas boys. Unlike the mural in the house, the drawings in the castle are separate panels with nothing connecting them. Dirk realizes that is why he has been having trouble. The meeting happens between Silas and Litzybits at a bridge. Amanda sees Todd and they shout a disjointed conversation that annoys Wygar. The confusion soon ends and everyone realizes that there has been a misunderstanding and it is the Kellum Knights who are responsible. Farson confesses his love for Panto to Litzybits, and they can all work to fulfill the prophecy. At that moment, the 2 warring families arrive. They all have guns. Amanda tells them that they are being played and asks Farson to explain. In the middle of his speech, he is shot by the mage's man, and that sets off a furious battle. Todd and Amanda escape. Todd wants to leave Wendemore, but Amanda says that they need to stay and help. And he's like, hey, man, this is where I lose a little bit for Todd, because he wants to cut and run. Mm-hmm, and Amanda's going, no, man, we got to help these people. Mm-hmm. Susie arrives at the village. Susie tells the Snail Witch that she is going to be queen and has to evict her. The Snail Witch says that she is not afraid of her. The woods light up with shapes and colors. Mm-hmm. Amanda and Todd see it, and Amanda rushes to help. She gets there to see the village in ruins and sees the Snail Witch is dead. Todd is still trying to convince her to leave. So like I mentioned, I lost a little bit of respect for Todd, and it's amazing how far he has backslid and how far Amanda has grown.
Right.
However, I cannot truly say I wouldn't be itching to get out of there.
There's a lot of death going on,
Wygar shows up with some men, and they accuse Todd of betraying them. Todd fights back and is knocked out. Silas is with his mother, who thinks the Trusts killed Farson. The mage's man arrives at the bridge with the Kellum Knights. Susie arrives and tells them that the mage has left this world to her. She uses a spell and transforms herself into a queen, and they all kneel to her. We end back at the castle where Dirk is going over everything that happened and tries to figure out what he missed. He noticed that one of the drawings depicted sleep. He deduced that the boy could create things in his sleep. He then deduced that since this place was created, the boy has been asleep. He then said, solved it, and then escapes from his girlfriend and runs out of the castle. Episode 8. This episode starts with another 50-year flashback. Mm-hmm. The Cardenases are arguing over the new car. It appears the wife is going to call Kellum and accept their offer. In the struggle, she kills her husband by lightly poking him in the head with a pair of scissors. They really failed on that murder scene.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
It was witnessed by their sons. Mm-hmm. The younger boy passes out. The mother, who ran out and drove away, had her car lifted into the sky. The scissors and the husband on the floor in a pool of blood disappeared. After the credits, Blackwing is inspecting the house and discovered a pocket dimension that is accessed through a portal in an upstairs bedroom. Friedkin knows it is over his head and has turned control over to Ken. They go out to the only safe room in the facility, the white room with the cab, and Ken explains Mona Wilder to Friedkin.
Right. As Ken is explaining Project Lamia, or Mona Wilder, remember that she is the shapeshifter, so he's just showing Friedkin images of her shape-shifting ability when she was the panic doll. Right.
Yeah, he was looking at some surveillance video. Mm-hmm. And what was kind of weird about this is this weird black and white surveillance video that he keeps saying the eyes have changed.
I know.
Seriously? you looked at that and noticed a change in the eye color on this grainy black and white surveillance video.
And it was here also that I thought it was interesting. There's a scene that shows the boy, the actual boy, in his bed, waking up, and they focus on the lamp that's next to his bed, and there's a small stuffed animal there. And I think the implication is that the stuffed animal that's sitting next to the bed is Mona.
Oh, yes.
So I believe that that's one of the connections is that Mona is a friend of the boy, and she was, in fact, one of his childhood toys.
So Farah has escaped, and she's made her way back to the police station. It appears like it's empty until Tina starts blindly shooting from under a desk.
Right. And again, here's one of my favorite scenes. I don't know what it is about the Tina and Farah scenes, but again, there's a lot of good acting in this area.
Yes. So Tina is upset about Susie being magical and Blackwing and Bart and Panto escaping. She's also upset that nobody knows where Sheriff Hobbs is. In Wendemore, Dirk is trying to get away from his new girlfriend. In this scene, while he is running through the woods, he comes across a Kellum truck, probably the one we saw drive into the barn and disappear. This is the first time they blatantly point out it is Kellum.
Yep.
He sees a horse pulling a wagon and runs, jumps in, and gets away in the wagon. Silas's mother has Todd and Amanda chained in a stall in a stable. Todd tries to explain why he is there, and Amanda is not ready to accept him. He tells her that he now has pararibulitis, and how that was a sign to fix things between them, and then he would have a normal life again. She told him to look at his situation and that his normal life is over.
Right.
We jump to Susie in the Snail Witch's cave, and her book is telling her that if she controls the pool, she controls the world. Through trial and error, she plunges her wand into the pool, and everything lights up.
The funny thing I thought about that particular scene is, yes, she's stirring the pool with her wand, but I don't know what benefit she's getting out of that. The only thing I can think of is that can see what's going on in the other parts of the world or something. Did you get an impression of what it?
I had to imagine visions, like the way Amanda could see things.
Okay. I wondered because they didn't make it clear. They only showed her manically laughing and stirring with the wand, you know?
Yeah. The wagon with Dirk arrives at its destination. It's the executioner's wagon, and Dirk is tasked with helping set up 2 pairs of giant vertical scissors.
And of course, I'm thinking, these are going to be like the guillotines that they're going to kill the 2 of them with. They're going to stick their head through the guillotine, through the.
Oh no! Oh no! No, this for this silly little show with these colorful little creatures was horrifying when they were standing there. Eventually, we'll get to that. Oh man! So during this exchange, the executioner calls Dirk a hoopty-frood.
Yep, I heard it. I knew you were going to catch that one.
In the stall, Silas's mother and Wygar are trying to get information out of Todd and Amanda about the Trosts and the Mage. I have been looking for the best way to describe Wendemore for those who have never seen it. Fairy Tale Land really does not do it justice.
No.
I think Todd described it perfectly when he called it a murdery acid trip Ren Fair nightmare. That is exactly what Wendemore is at this point. It's not what it's going to be or should have been.
Right.
But right now. So Amanda explains exactly what is going on, and the mother refused to believe it and ordered their execution. Farah and Tina go to Susie's house. They see a frog. So his spell did not wear off for Scott yet.
No.
Or because she is Bart, the universe didn't allow her rabbit spell to stick very long.
Right, exactly.
They find her husband Bob with the push pins in his face, sitting watching a program with Susie on it on a TV that is not plugged in. While they are pulling the pins out of his head, The mage comes on the TV and tells Bob to kill them. During the fight, Farah shoots the TV and Bob becomes docile. Back in the stable, Amanda is explaining to Todd that pararibulitis works differently there, and she has been learning to control it. She wants to use it as a weapon, so needs Todd to hit her so she has an attack. He refuses, so she slaps him over and over and over until he strikes back. But it didn't work, so they had a slap fight.
Yep.
After a little fun reminiscing, Amanda wants to make sure that he knows what he did to her and how he hurt her.
Mm-hmm.
He was her hero, and she wants her brother back. Dirk, having seen his girlfriend had followed him, runs off into the woods to get away. He literally runs into the Rowdy Three. They tell Dirk he is going to hate his situation. The new girlfriend catches up and she seems to go at them. Dirk gets between them and ends up punching Martin in the mouth. He is pretty unfazed by it.
I still love it. She jumps up at him and says, "I love Bivit." I don't know why it was so funny, but it was hysterical to me.
Dirk apologizes to everybody. The Rowdy Three are off to save Amanda. Dirk says that not only do they not know where she is, there are too many guarding her to rescue her safely. Dirk says he has a plan. Martin slaps Dirk in the face and then tells the others that Dirk is in charge. That Rowdy Three group does not want to make decisions, but they are followers extraordinaire.
They're living the universal life, right? Wherever the universe takes them, that's where they go.
Yep. Farah and Tina are interrogating a catatonic, grunting Bob. This is another scene that works so well.
I know. And what does she call it? Tina calls it the tequila language.
Yeah, the tequila talk or something
tequila
like
talk.
that.
Yeah, that was the tequila talk, which I thought was amazing, you know. So anyway, she gets the catatonic Bob to understand that this tequila talk is one grunt for yes and silence for no.
And that approach seems to work. However, it's difficult to get real information using only yes-no answers.
Right.
So Tina pleads for him to dig deep and find the words to answer. And when she asked where Sheriff Hobbs is, he was able to say quarry. And this was a bit more of an emotional scene than I ever expected.
Yeah, yep.
Again, out of this silly little show with these colorful creatures that talk gibberish.
Mm-hmm.
So Todd and Amanda are wearing dunce caps, and they are on their death march to Wendemore's version of the gallows. They turn and they face the crowd, and they flip them off. On the gallows, Todd and Amanda are in one of the most visually frightening predicaments I have ever seen. So explain the scissors and this version of the gallows.
Right. So these scissors are over 6 feet tall. They're mounted vertically, and Todd and Amanda are spread akimbo, as they call it, spread eagle, if you prefer.
They're standing straddling.
Standing and straddling the scissors, where they're about to be chopped in half vertically.
Yes. And there's a giant rock suspended from ropes that they release. The rock is what drops.
Oh,
and
wow.
The rock closes the scissors and basically cut them in half, crotch to forehead.
Oh.
So during Silas's mother's address to the crowd, the Rowdy Three arrive in a Kellum truck. The fighting begins, and Silas's mother is prevented from pulling the lever to release the boulder by Dirk Gently, who somehow arrived earlier than the Rowdy Three with enough time to somehow replace the executioner.
Yep. Well, that was part of his plan.
Yeah, well, we have no idea when they arrived, and we do
Right.
know that Dirk has a relationship with the executioner. So he could have said, hey, I've always wanted to pull that lever.
Right, exactly, exactly.
And what does Dirk tell her?
Did it? No.
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 When Dirk stops Silas's mother from pulling the lever, he says something.
Don't panic? No. Not later.
Do another one.
Okay.
Do another one that's a few books later. Book 4.
I missed it.
He says, sorry for the inconvenience.
Oh, right. See? I knew it was in there somewhere, right?
Which is close to I apologize, or we apologize. We would have been weird.
Right.
So Dirk frees Todd and Amanda and then faces off with Silas as Martin takes on Wygar with the help of the others and Dirk's girlfriend. During the fight, Silas learns that he is fighting Dirk gently, and all the fighting pauses. Todd knocks out Silas and he falls on the Kellum truck. The group takes that opportunity and is able to escape. Silas wakes up and, after asking him one question, Dirk explains how he solved the case. Once again, here is Barnacle Blimp to put it all together for us.
In the 1950s, in the town of Bergsburg, a family named the Cardenases with one son Arnold were shocked when they discovered a baby in a boat in the middle of nowhere. Out of the kindness of their heart, they took in this baby boy. It turned out this baby had godlike, reality-warping powers that activated whenever he fell asleep. All the weirdness the boy was causing in Bergsburg attracted the attention of a government agency, the predecessor to Blackwing. This, of course, was stressful for the Cardenases, who didn't know how to handle the boy's powers and were arguing with each other already over whether or not to sell the farm to the Kellum Corporation. Tensions in the Cardenas household rose until they finally exploded. She came home with a new car, having agreed to sell the farm. They argued, and Marina Cardenas killed her husband with a pair of scissors. The boy freaked out and retreated into a dream state, launching his mother into the sky, putting his father inside a tree on the farm he loved so much. After their parents were dead, that left Arnold, the older brother, alone with the boy. Arnold was understandably traumatized after losing both his parents, so he called the number the government agency had given them and turned the boy in. The stress of being taken away by the men in black made the boy try to use his power at a scale he had never had before. He tried to make his fantasies real. He created Windemore, an entire dimension in an instant, with its own people, its own magic, real people with real lives. The boy's waking dream was like the Big Bang that created this universe. The sheer power of that creation caused an energy surge. That was the 67 event, and threw the boy himself into a coma, leading this world to fall slowly into chaos without its rightful ruler, which it has done and will continue to do until the boy is returned here.
I don't know how much fun Barnacle has in doing those explanations for us, but I always enjoy them.
I think he has a great time.
Okay, good. So Todd asks who Susie Borton was, and Dirk confessed that that was the one piece that he did not know. Todd does not know how the information about what happened actually helps them. Dirk tells them the boy is Project Moloch, and he has been in Blackwing all the time. The prophecy can be fulfilled if they can get to Blackwing and bring the boy to Windemore. They hope to have Amanda use her powers to get them there. Susie, the queen, arrives and confirms that everything is connected. Ends with Farah and Tina overlooking the quarry at the police car and the mage. And the mage suddenly appears behind them and knocks them out with a touch to the backs with his wand. Then that brings us to episode 9.
Right. And we go episode 9 and 10. There's just a cacophony of action and riotous mayhem.
Yes, absolutely. The flashback of this beginning is to the Cardenas house and it is a young Arnold, obviously angry and in grief after the loss of his parents. He is making the decision to call the number on the business card that he was given. The agents arrive to take his brother away. The brother runs to his room and gets on his bed and closes his eyes. The agents follow him. As they grab him, the brother yells no, and electricity starts to spark and he has a seizure. That was the 67 event.
Right.
We are reminded that the brother is Project Malik, who is in a coma at Blackwing.
Mm-hmm.
After the credits, we are in Wendamore, where Susie is taunting Dirk. Susie is grabbed by Wygar, who covers her mouth. He tells Silas to go to his mother because the Trosts are about to attack. He has to stop the fight. They need a pool to get Dirk to Blackwing, and Susie is in the village. So Dirk takes them to the old castle as Susie takes care of Wygar. The Kellum Knights arrive. She tells them not to worry about those who got away because they have no magic and no pool. She's obviously blinded by her new power. Because they have both.
Right.
Back at Blackwing, Ken is showing the guards their new target, the Panic Pete doll. He tells everybody they need to stay calm. Friedkin is unable to follow that directive. He grabs a gun off the table and starts shooting at random things because Mona Wilder could be anything. He decides to shoot Ken just to be sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ken tells Friedkin that his gun is still in his holster. Mona is the gun.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mona becomes a chain and chokes Friedkin to the ground. Ken talks her down and she changes to Mona. We jump to the quarry with Farah and Tina, and they wake up and they see Sheriff Hobbs, who is enchanted. And he's loading things into the trunk of the police car for the mage. They decide they need to stop them. We see Mr. Priest at the Cardenas house telling his men they are in a special situation. He calls command and gets Ken. He is pleased with that because right now Bart, carrying a chainsaw, and Panto are walking up to the house.
Right, right.
Mr. Priest would like Ken's expertise on Project Marzana right now.
Yes, Ken having been the only one to spend time with Bart and still remain alive. So.
Yes. So Mr. Priest tells his men to put their guns in clips on the ground because they will not be useful and may only cause a chain reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Priest goes to Bart and gives her a tablet so she can talk to Ken.
And again, I love the scene.
Yes.
Bart is amazed by the technology and wonders how he got into that little box.
Right.
Are you on television?
So Ken is pleading with her to come in, and one of the guards tries to tase Panto, and he takes out 5 or so guards with little trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Bart is delighted and impressed.
Absolutely.
Watching this scene made me think again of how much I like the actor playing Panto.
Yeah.
He is in a fairy tale land with pink hair and fighting with giant scissors, yet somehow he still looks dignified and heroic. So I looked at his filmography.
Oh, you did?
And
Great.
Yeah, and I didn't recognize anything he was in.
Mm-hmm.
But you should, because all of his credits seem to be Hallmark properties.
Isn't that funny? I don't think I would have recognized him with the pink hair. Oh.
So Bart tells Mr. Priest that they do not want to kill any more people. They just want to go to Wendamore for the happily ever after. Panto and Mr. Priest are in a standoff. Bart gives Panto a signal, and he stabs Mr. Priest in the face with giant scissors.
Well, actually cuts his face vertically with giant scissors.
Yes.
Oh, and it's amazing. Well, you don't see the fantastic makeup job that's done until the end of episode 10, but
right.
Quite a dramatic action there.
Yes. On the way to the castle to use the pool in the throne room, Sounds like they're going to go take a dump. Anyway, so Todd has an attack of pararibullitis. Amanda guides him in how to control it, and he turned barbed wire onto his leg as real, and it was able to be removed.
Mm-hmm.
Back at Blackwing, Mona Wilder is sitting in an empty white room and is guarded by 4 men. Friedkin comes in, and Friedkin tells her that his neck still hurts. She apologized and said it was because he scared her.
Right.
The way the 4 guards scare her now. Friedkin says they are necessary in case she changed into a bear or something. And then, this was the most fantastic line in the entire show.
Yeah.
So what did she say?
She says, why would I turn into a cute little fuzzy bear? Well, that's a reference to her having been a bear, the toy bear of the boys.
But you didn't finish it and show how absolutely horrifying Mona Wilder is.
Okay.
She says, why would she turn into a silly little bear? If she wanted to kill them, she would just turn into an aircraft carrier and destroy the entire place. So these guys are standing there with guns when she can instantly become an aircraft carrier.
Yep.
When Ken comes in, she explains that she is a holistic actress and can play any role. She can be anything, but does not know what she is supposed to be. She also told Ken that she did not send Dirk away. It was the little snail voice that she let use her eyes. In Wendemore, Bart is following Panto to his family's home. On the trail, Bart has a feeling she wants to go the other way. Silas emerges out of the woods, and he tells Panto how bad things have gotten, and they have to go off the way Bart wanted to. So Bart's universal instincts are starting to kick back in.
That's correct. And it never really says this, but we find out shortly after that in the prophecy, they refer to the ultimate weapon.
Yes.
And of course, we all implied it and we already knew, but Bart, of course, is the ultimate weapon.
Right. Susie is with the mage's main man, and she used the pool to find the boy. She is going to send him to Blackwing with the instructions to kill everyone he sees.
Mm-hmm.
He arrives at Blackwing through the shower in Ken's room. Rapunzel is a witness. Ken is explaining to Friedkin what is going on and giving orders. Friedkin wants Ken to understand that he is in charge, not Ken. And Ken informs him that he gave Ken the same clearance that he has, so they are equals.
Right. And this is where Ken's character changes quite a bit.
Yes.
He becomes maniacal in his power. And
right.
I don't quite follow his motivation going through the next episode and a half, but somebody has to be the foil, and Friedkin was too dumb.
Ken does take a bad turn, and I would have preferred just Mr. Priest being the bad guy through the whole thing, and Ken saving the day kind of from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'm starting to not like Ken anymore.
Nope.
So Rapunzel runs past them, and then the Kellen Knights arrive. We return to the quarry, and Tina and Farah attempt to arrest the mage. Again, these scenes with these two are intense.
Yeah, they are.
The mage waves his wand, and they turn and they point their guns at each other. And he decides not to kill them right away. They asked what it was he was making Sheriff Hobbs do. And he is having him load the car with explosives to drive into the Cardenas house and close the gateway to Wendemore.
Right, so now, finally, in episode 9, we see the cases of explosives that were mentioned in episode 1.
Right. He then sends Hobbs to shoot them. They are all shooting each other. Farah is able to eject her clip, so her gun is empty. and he tries to have Tina shoot Farah, but somehow Farah is out of his spell and pushes Tina's gun, and it shoots the wand out of the mage's hand. They then shoot the explosives in the trunk of the car, and it explodes, taking the mage with it.
Right. The mage is trying to control everything in this universe and implies that he has all the control in Windemore. And then Farah says, but not here, and she fires her weapon into the trunk of the car, which causes the explosions to go off. So we see that he does not have all the control here in this universe.
Right.
As his body goes flying through the air, having been blown up by the explosives.
Yeah, his power of control is limited, and he was stretching himself too thin.
That's right. That's right. And that's what you implied when you said that, that she no longer had control over Farah. So it was a good scene.
Yes. Panto and Silas have arrived at the battlefield. There are many dead, some with arms cut off. It seems that the last two are the mother and father, and the mother has the father's rifle caught in her scissors.
Mm-hmm.
They stop them from fighting, and they confess their love for each other to their parents. They still believe there is a chance to save their world. Bart is watching and says everything will work out great. Of course, the Kellum Knights arrive right then, and they're a little disappointed that they have all killed each other and none are left for them. Panto, Silas, and their parents are all gunned down. No bullets hit Bart.
Right.
She runs to Panto and Silas and sees they are dead, and then stands and faces the Kellum Knights. The Knights all fire at her as more Knights approach.
That's right. So there's a wall of Knights at the gate, and then there's another phalanx of Knights following behind, and they're all firing at her, and nobody, of course, is hitting her. And you know what's about to happen.
Yes, because she picks up her chainsaw. Amanda and the others arrive at the pool in the throne room of that old castle. Amanda opens a portal, but cannot sustain it. She wants to have Todd help her. Dirk has to go to Blackwing alone. The final scene is a montage with Susie's laughter echoing. We see Kellum Knights raiding Blackwing. We see Farah, Tina, and Hobbs lying on the ground with gunshot wounds. Dirk tells himself, "Don't panic," then jumps in the portal.
Of course he says that.
Of course. And that brings us to the last and final episode, episode 10.
Mm-hmm.
This episode starts off with a child's voice, seemingly reading the end of a fairy tale with a happily ever after. It is abruptly stopped by the Queen Susie, who says, "Not this time. It's her story now." And then they tell her story.
Mm-hmm.
We've already heard from Barnacle Blimp this episode, so I think we will have Jiffy Nealers tell Susie's story from her perspective.
Go, Jiffy!
There once was a very special princess who no one appreciated. She was married to a slob, and her son was an idiot. She had a terrible accident that wasn't her fault, even a little bit, and ended up lost and alone. But then a wonderful wizard from another world came and gave her another chance to live the perfect life she deserved. And so the princess became a beautiful queen who everyone loved and lived happily ever after. Or else.
So I'm glad that Jiffy got a chance to do this reading for us.
Yes, me too. Good job, Jiffy.
The first thing we see after the credits is the mage's burned corpse at the quarry. Then Farah, Tina, and Hobbs all come to. Hobbs has no idea what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Farah is explaining how to treat their wounds from all shooting each other. Since nobody has trouble breathing or can see their intestines, all might be okay. They need to get help quickly, but nobody is able to move. The next scene is Dirk arriving at Blackwing, and the first thing he sees is Rapunzel, which only adds to his confusion.
At first, when I saw Rapunzel, I thought maybe it was Mona, but it wasn't. It was just Rapunzel.
No, it was just Rapunzel. There is then a lot of gunfire. As he is trying to get away from it, he meets Lieutenant Assistant, who tries to capture him.
I can't imagine how you can just say these things with a straight face. It's an enjoyable show. It has comic relief all over it. But even when you describe it, I just have to laugh by the things that you've had to say.
Yeah. I'm doing my best just to not crack up every time I say these words.
Oh, gosh.
The Knights and Blackwing guards arrive shooting and they have to leave. Dirk wants to be taken to Project Moloch. Ken is watching everything from the command center. Dirk and Assistant arrive at the secure room holding Mona Wilder. Mona is happy to see them and then turns into a cannon.
Oh.
They show Amanda and Todd with their hands in the pool, in pain, trying to keep the portal open. They snap to a black, empty space Amanda took them to, the other side of reality, because the pain was too much.
Right, so it's an out-of-body experience that they have. And I love this, because I don't know if you notice this or not, but of course, in this reality, they both have very unusual pupils.
Okay.
But they happen to be shaped like maple leaves.
I did not notice that.
Well, it's a Canadian show, so that's what I thought was funny,
Right.
So they got the white eyes and their pupils are maple leaves.
All the guards are down, and Mona gives Dirk a hug. He needs Mona's help to get him to Project Moloch, who is on the other side of the facility, which is now a war zone. In Wendamore, the Rowdy Three are waiting for Susie to stop her from getting to the castle throne room. Susie arrives and with a wave of her wand, freezes them in place. They try to feed on her. She has them feeding on the energy from her wand and they get knocked out. But it took something out of her. Susie gets to the throne room and uses her wand to knock Amanda and Todd away from the pool and the portal closes. She tries to finish them off, but her wand fails. Then, Todd hits her with a barrage of questions. He asks, "Who are you? Like, seriously, what's your problem? Why are you here? You're like some mom from Montana? I don't understand why you're involved. Literally, at all. No one does. You're just like this psycho crazy person who's screwing up everything for everyone. You have killed so many people. Do you have any conception of what is going on or what you're even doing?"
Mm-hmm. That's your Golden Globe for performance there. Let me try this again.
Okay, thank you.
That was your Golden Globe performance.
Thank you. So she holds up her wand and says, "I have this now." Todd all of a sudden realizes that he is not dead yet and that her wand is messed up. He shoots her with the air gun before she can use her wand and blasts her out of the cave. Back at Blackwing, to help Dirk get through the war zone, Mona handed Dirk a helmet and turned herself into a motorcycle. Personally, I would have preferred something a little more enclosed and protected. A mini tank or something.
Oh, that would have been handy.
They get to Project Moloch's room and Friedkin is there. He wants all this to end. He says everybody thinks he's an idiot, even him. He said Ken was right and it is all his fault because Moloch had a stroke when he had Moloch transferred. He is tired of always being wrong and wants to be right for once. Mm-hmm. Friedkin wants to know if he is the villain and doesn't even know it. Dirk explains that it is not just him, it is Blackwing.
Right. And
this is his chance to make things right. He is about to make the wrong choice once again, and Mona asks him if it is more important to be in charge or to do the right thing. He decides to do the right thing. He clears the way for them to get Project Moloch to the portal, which is gone. Todd wakes up Amanda and tells her to open the portal while he holds the queen off. While Dirk is trying to figure out what to do without a portal, the mage's main man arrives and puts his scissors through Friedkin's back. He says if Dirk dies, the prophecy is over. Ken arrives and shoots him through the head. He gasses Mona and locks down the room.
Again, this is the scene where we lose all context for Ken's motivation, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Todd is unable to hold off Susie, and Dirk's new girlfriend jumps on her, making her drop her wand. So I don't know what happened to the tape. The duct tape disappeared when she became a queen.
When she got to Windemore, she didn't have any tape on her hands.
No, she didn't. Todd grabs the wand, and Amanda opens the portal. Susie is magically pulling the wand to her. Once she wrestles the wand from Todd, she uses it and encases Todd in magic ring shapes that slowly contract on him. The portal opens at Blackwing. Ken refuses to let Dirk go, but admits he will not kill him. Dirk goes to Moloch, and Ken shoots him in the leg. Not gonna kill you, but... No. Friedkin points his gun at Ken. Dirk and Moloch go through the portal, and Ken pushed Friedkin through. Just as Susie is about to kill Amanda, everybody arrives in Windemore, and they all get knocked back. Dirk is wearing his original yellow jacket. Susie gets up and goes to finish them with her wand, and it is ripped from her hand and flies to a young Moloch. He is now the boy, Francis, back in Windemore. He says he can fix everything.
It didn't dawn on me until this very second. We keep calling him Moloch, or Project Moloch, right?
Right.
But his name is Pollock.
Right. Yeah.
That's weird. I don't know why it didn't dawn on me, but weird.
Yeah. He sends everybody back to the real world. Todd arrives in an ambulance to save Farah, Tina, and Hobbs.
Right.
Dirk and Mona remain in Windemore and talk with Francis. Dirk asks if he knows what and why Dirk is. He says all the projects are tools to help fix the broken universe. They each have a different purpose. Dirk's is helping people be where they should be. Then he sends Dirk and Mona home. I then have to laugh because they show an aerial shot of a field littered with dead Kellamites.
Oh, yeah.
And then Bart is sitting on top of a pile of them.
Yeah. It's like a scene out of World War Z.
Yes, right.
Bodies everywhere.
Yeah. So Francis is thanking Bart for getting rid of them, and Bart asks if he is going to fix everything. She admits to messing up with Susie. Like you mentioned, she did not kill her even though she felt she should.
Right.
And Francis invited her to stay. And she said she can't. She would ruin his perfect world. She said she thought she was a leaf in the stream of creation, but realizes that she is not.
No, she thinks she is a puppet on a string.
Yes, not a person. But she's a weapon. The ultimate weapon. She asked him to get her out of there, and he asked where she wanted to go. Friedkin, now with weird eyes, wakes up uninjured in the other side of reality. And I didn't realize that his weird eyes were maple leafs. Did he have maple leafs?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Must be the only ones they had available in Canada, I guess.
Right. He looks up and says, "Now I get it." And I don't know what his revelation was. Do you know what his revelation was?
I have no idea. I thought it was weird that he was awake in the, in between.
Right. Back at Blackwing, Ken is in a room of body bags. The head of Blackwing arrives, telling him this was a disaster. Mm-hmm. Ken said it was a matter of perspective. He tells her they have conclusive proof of the supernatural. She liked the spin, and he got a promotion. So now I ask, is Ken a bad guy?
Mm.
Has he really always been a bad guy, but was never in any kind of position to actually be a bad guy until Friedkin let him out?
Right. I don't really know. Like I said, I mean, we enjoyed his motivation in season 1, and clearly all the way up into the last couple episodes, he seemed like a normal guy who was one of the few that's there to fix the world. But by the end of this episode, we're convinced he's no longer on that side.
Well, I'm going to say that the very end of this episode and of this season is going to tell you whether or not Ken is a bad guy.
I agree.
We see Farrah, Tina, and Hobbs playing cards in the yard of a hospital. Hobbs is jealous because he missed the good stuff being a zombie. He tells Tina he knew she would be a good cop. He tells Farrah she is no longer wanted by the FBI. We learn they all signed secrecy contracts with the government. Farrah tries to return her badge, and Hobbs refuses to take it. And she starts quoting procedure.
About deputized individuals.
Yeah. Todd and Amanda meet and talk about what to do next. Amanda said her visions showed her that reality is coming apart at the seams. She and the Rowdy Three, and Dirk's girlfriend, are going to try and find others like them and Dirk. Todd and Dirk are not going with them because that is not the way it works for them.
Mm-mm.
Todd asked if the Rainbow Girl being in this universe would be a problem. Dirk said it would, most definitely.
Most definitely.
Todd then showed Dirk the air gun, and they both got excited. They wondered what happened to Susie. A train whistle sounds, and Susie, no longer a queen, wakes up and is happy to be okay. Her hip hurts, and she is on the train in the sky in Windemore.
Going around endlessly.
Yes. The closing montage shows all the people of Windemore have been restored. Susie's husband and son are normal again and having fun. Amanda is with the Rowdy Three driving away, and she has Susie's wand. Dirk has a new, very big office for his detective agency with Todd and Farrah and Mona Wilder, who does not want you to tell them she's there.
And they hang a sign, and on the bottom of the sign it says, "They solve cases with arguable efficiency."
Yeah. And it ends at Blackwing, where Ken is having a sit-down with Bart. Mr. Priest is in the room with quite a bandaged cut down his face. Ken is telling her the program has changed, and Bart is telling him that she is sick of the confusing and irritating world out there. Ken is leaving her, and Bart wants to know if he is some big business now. He says he is. Bart has a realization and thinks she should tell Ken that the universe is making her feel like she should kill him now. He told her that she knows she won't, and that he is going to bring the universe under control. They leave her. Mr. Priest asked Ken basically the same question I asked you. Is Ken one of the good guys? Ken said that in his world, there are no good guys. Then the door closes, and the lights in Bart's room go out. So, wow.
Right.
I am so sad that this series didn't continue.
Oh, I know. I mean, it was definitely set up with a good closing for the season and with lots of possibilities, I guess. I'm not sure where the different characters would be going, and it isn't in the direction I would have thought it would go, you know? We're thinking as his holistic detective agency would just be a detective agency picking up random cases, but the way they set up the following season, if there were one, is more like he's going to have to deal with all these odd universe ripping situations.
Right.
And who knows what Ken really meant when he said that he and Bart were going to have a really, really good time.
I don't know.
You know, I kind of got the impression with the lights going out that Bart was about to leave the facility, but not sure.
No, I think Bart wants to stay in the facility. She's tired of the world.
Yeah, she does.
She just needs some peace and quiet.
Yep, for a little while. Yep.
Yeah, and then the universe will tell her where to go. So I guess the viewership for season 2 was lower than season 1. And in what I read, I'm going to paraphrase some of what I read about the show.
Great.
It said, and I agree with this wholeheartedly. The show is weird, but there is a payoff if you stick with it to the end.
Mm-hmm.
I have to believe that some found that the second season was just too weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you just turn it on and you see these funny characters with toys,
Right.
you're like, I don't need this.
Right.
And I think I mostly glossed over it when I watched this the first time because there's really not a lot of the plot I remember.
Mm-hmm.
I remember all of the visuals.
Right.
So I sat down and I was mesmerized by the cacophony of visuals that went by, but I didn't really remember all the particulars. The Wendemore stuff is really out there, and it can be difficult to take seriously.
Right.
But as absurd as it can be, the writing of this show is very intelligent,
Right.
and the subject matter is very serious.
It is. It is. Again, it's very entertaining. The acting was extraordinary in places, and I really, really enjoyed it. I was super surprised, as I said, when we first started this episode, that I had, in fact, not seen episodes 6 through 10.
Right.
So I don't know exactly what happened, but I'm glad that I was able to watch the rest of them, and I really have enjoyed watching this entire series.
Yes, absolutely.
Even though we have mentioned over and over again that there seems to be very little interaction with what we would consider Douglas Adams's vision of the world.
Right. This is Dirk Gently in name only.
Exactly. So, Jeff, now that we've finished this particular season of BBC America, what's next?
Well, Brian, I think we're going to lose most of our audience because...
You mean all of those guys?
Every one of them is going to leave us because
don't tell them that.
We are going to do like we did with the 3 books in the trilogy. There are 3 different volumes of Dirk Gently comic books.
Oh, okay.
So the first series is a 5-book series.
Wow.
So I don't know how long that's going to take us. I don't know if we're going to have time to do more than 1 episode a month. So you might be listening to comic book stuff for 5 months.
Oh, gosh.
If we do all comic books and we don't break it up with anything else, it's going to be 19 months, over a year and a half of comic books.
Oh, now, really?
Yes, you're going to want to click on our YouTube link, because that way you can actually read the comic book along as we're talking about it, because I don't know how well we'll be able to really say how all the visuals and everything in the comic. We'll do our best to explain it.
Right.
I hope and do not plan to do 19 months of comic books. I hope that we can at least squeeze in maybe 2 comic books. So if we do 2, and 1, we can get 5 episodes done in 3 months, and that would be much better than stretching it out to 5. But we'll see what time allows.
Right, absolutely. We will definitely endeavor to make it entertaining, and if we really feel like we've jumped the shark, I'm sure we'll find a new subject.
Yes. Between each of the comic books, since there are 3 different issues or 3 different volumes, I would hope to do something else. I don't know what that will be. If anybody out there has an idea and says, hey, I really wish you would cover this, please send it to us. Our email's at the end. It's digitalwatchespodcast@gmail.com. If there's something you want us to do, the Starship Titanic or one of the Hitchhiker's Guide to Hitchhiker's Guide or something like that, we are happy to look into it.
You betcha. So now that we know what's coming up next, we have to say that this is the end.
Oh, it went like dead silent.
I know. I thought. Did the connection go off? We're really good podcasters, Jeff. We really are.
Yeah. It was just a. To me, your sentence just ended more abruptly than I expected it to. So it's kind of.
Oh my gosh! I have no idea how to fix it. Is there any way to fix it?
No. We're not going to worry about it. We're just going to continue on like nothing happened.
Oh, gosh. You all right?
In Wendemore, yeah, I'm fine. I brought my hand up to kind of cover my mouth, and I slapped the microphone. Thank you for listening to this. A new episode is released on the first Thursday of every month. A special thank you goes out to Luke, Max, Greg, and Tim Lesnick for arranging and performing our opening theme. Visit our website at digitalwatchesareaprettyneatidea.buzzsprout.com. While there, you can find links to all of my Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy inspired t-shirt designs. You can contact us via email at digitalwatchespodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on YouTube and Facebook at Digital Watches Are a Pretty Neat Idea. You can message us on Twitter, or should I say X, at Watches Idea, and our Instagram is Watches Idea Podcast.
This has been a Froods for Thought production.